It was a warm Saturday afternoon. The sky was clear, and the sun shone brightly over the quiet neighborhood. Sarah Walker, a calm and quiet woman in her early 30s, stepped into her backyard with a towel, a cold drink, and a book. She placed a chair under the sun, sat down, and closed her eyes. She had been working hard all week. This was her only day off. She needed peace, just a few hours to rest and feel the sunlight. Her backyard was surrounded by tall fences. It was private. No one should have cared what she was doing, but someone did. From the second-floor window of the house next door, Mr. Thomas watched her. He was a retired man in his 60s. He didn't like Sarah. She didn't talk much, never joined neighborhood parties, and always kept to herself. He didn't trust quiet people. "Disgusting," he whispered. "Shameless woman." He called his wife. She came, looked out the window, and frowned. Then she picked up the phone and called 2 more neighbors. Within 10 minutes, 3 people were peeking over the fence, whispering to each other. "She's doing it on purpose," one woman said. "She wants attention. She's not normal." Someone took a picture from far away. Someone else made a video. Mr. Thomas, angry and loud, shouted over the fence, "You should be ashamed of yourself." Sarah opened her eyes, surprised. She stood up slowly, confused and calm. "Is something wrong?" she asked. "You can't do this here," another neighbor shouted. "This is a family neighborhood," said a woman holding a baby. Sarah looked around. "I'm in my backyard," she said softly. "I haven't done anything wrong." The voices grew louder. A teenage boy looked nervous. He was recording the scene on his phone. His hands were shaking. He had never seen adults behave this way before. Suddenly, someone called the police. "She's acting strange in her backyard," the voice on the phone said. "She's making people uncomfortable." Sarah heard the sirens before she saw the cars. Her hands tightened around her towel. She picked up her drink, placed it on the table, and took a deep breath. 2 police officers walked in through the open side gate. The neighbors followed, pretending to be calm but secretly excited. This was going to be a big drama. The officers stepped forward. One of them said, "Ma'am, we got a call. We need to speak with you." Sarah didn't panic. She didn't argue. Instead, she slowly reached into her bag that was lying beside the chair. The officers tensed. The neighbors went quiet. Even the wind stopped for a moment. Sarah pulled out a small black wallet. She flipped it open. The shiny FBI badge caught the sunlight. "Special Agent Sarah Walker," she said, showing her ID. "You need to step back and stay calm." The younger officer blinked. The older one stepped back. The neighbors froze, their mouths slightly open. Mr. Thomas almost dropped his phone. "I suggest," Sarah said clearly, "you all stop talking and listen carefully." She looked at the officers. Her voice was steady but firm. "These people called the police on me without any reason. That's harassment. But this isn't just about me." The teenage boy stepped forward slowly, holding his phone. "I have the video," he said quietly. "She didn't do anything wrong." Sarah looked at him with kind eyes and nodded. "Thank you." She turned back to the officers. "You may want to take this seriously. There's more to this story than you think." The neighbors looked at each other, confused and scared. Sarah wasn't just a quiet woman sunbathing in her backyard. She was watching something, or someone. And now, things were just beginning. The street was quiet now. The neighbors had gone back inside, confused and afraid. No one had imagined that Sarah, the silent woman next door, was an FBI agent. The 2 police officers were still in her backyard. Sarah stood straight, calm, and strong, but inside, her heart was heavy. One officer asked, "Ma'am, were you undercover?" Sarah gave a small smile. "I can't answer that yet." Then she looked at the boy who had recorded the video. "Thank you for your courage. You did the right thing." The boy nodded. "I didn't think adults could be so mean." Sarah looked down. "Sometimes People fear what they don't understand. As the officers left, Sarah sat down slowly. Her mind drifted to the past. 10 years ago, Sarah was just a small-town girl with big dreams. She grew up in a poor neighborhood. Her father was a mechanic. Her mother worked 2 jobs. But they raised her to believe in truth and justice. As a child, Sarah loved detective books. She watched crime shows and always solved the mystery before the end. When she turned 18, she told her parents, "I want to join the FBI." They were surprised. "It's not easy," her father said. "It's dangerous." But Sarah's eyes were full of fire. "I want to protect people." She trained hard. She studied day and night. She went through FBI Academy. It wasn't easy. Many people told her she wasn't strong enough. Some laughed at her, but Sarah didn't give up. She passed every test. She learned to fight, to track, to listen. But more than that, she learned how to stay calm, even when the world was unfair. She remembered one mission clearly. A child had gone missing in a crowded mall. Everyone panicked, but Sarah found a clue, a small toy left near a store. She followed that clue and found the child hiding, scared and crying. She didn't shout. She didn't panic. She just held the child and whispered, "You're safe now." That was the kind of agent Sarah was. Brave, smart, and kind. Back in the present, Sarah looked around her backyard. Everything looked normal, but something felt off. She walked to her fence, touched the wood gently. She whispered, "They don't even know what's happening right in front of them." She went inside and opened a small drawer in her study. Inside was a file with red markings. Case 47B. Status: open location, same neighborhood. Reason: suspicious activity, possible link to missing persons. Case. That's right. Sarah hadn't moved here just for rest. She was here on a silent mission. There were reports. Strange disappearances. People who left suddenly. Stories that didn't add up. One name came up again and again, Mr. Thomas. He had lived here the longest. He knew everyone. He always kept an eye on things. Too close of an eye. Sarah opened her laptop and played a recording. It was from 3 nights ago. A man's voice whispered, "She's watching. We need to move faster." Another voice replied, "If she finds out, we're finished." Sarah paused the video. She looked out the window. Mr. Thomas was in his backyard pretending to water plants, but his eyes, they were watching her house. Just like always. She closed the curtain. That evening, Sarah got a knock on the door. It was the teenage boy again. He looked nervous. I think I found something," he said. "On my phone." He showed her a video. It was from earlier that day, right before the police arrived. In the background, barely visible, someone had walked past her backyard fence. It wasn't a neighbor. It wasn't a stranger. It was someone Sarah recognized from the file. She leaned in. Her eyes narrowed. "This changes everything," she said. She stood up, grabbed her badge, and looked at the boy. "Thank you again," she said. "But now, you need to be careful." The boy swallowed hard. "Why?" Sarah looked at him with serious eyes, "because this isn't just about harassment anymore. It's about secrets people will do anything to hide." The next morning, the neighborhood felt colder. It wasn't the weather. It was the silence. People who used to wave at each other were now avoiding eye contact. Curtains stayed closed. Doors shut quickly. Something had changed. Sarah could feel it. She stood at her window sipping coffee. Her eyes watched the street, not with fear, but with focus. She wasn't just living here, she was watching, listening, waiting. The video from the boy still played in her mind. The man who walked by her fence wasn't just anyone. He was once a suspect in a missing person case 2 years ago. That case was never solved. Now he was here, in this neighborhood, and Sarah knew. This was no coincidence. Later that day, 2 police officers returned. They knocked gently, almost respectfully now. "Ma'am," one officer said, "we spoke to the neighbors." Sarah crossed her arms. "And?" The officer hesitated. "Some of them changed their stories." She raised an eyebrow. "Let me guess. Now they say I wasn't doing anything wrong." The younger officer nodded. "Exactly. Suddenly everyone says you were just sitting quietly." Sarah gave a bitter smile. "Interesting how the truth comes out when a badge is involved." She paused. "But some people are still hiding things." Meanwhile, in another house down the street, Mr. Thomas sat with 3 neighbors. They were nervous. "She's FBI," one whispered. "What if she finds out?" Mr. Thomas clenched his fists. "We didn't do anything wrong." But even he didn't believe his own words. He looked out his window. Sarah's house felt like a tower now, watching them day and night. One woman spoke. "Maybe we should come clean. If she's here for a reason, we should help." Mr. Thomas snapped. "We say nothing, understand? She can't prove anything without evidence." But someone in the room had already started to doubt him. That evening, the teenage boy came to Sarah again. "I heard something," he said. "Mr. Thomas yelled at someone on the phone. He said, 'Don't let her find it.'" Sarah looked serious. "Find what?" The boy shook his head. "I don't know. But I think they're hiding something." Sarah sat down and opened her notebook. She wrote down every name in the neighborhood. Some she had met, some she hadn't. She circled 4 names in red. They were all close friends with Mr. Thomas. They were all part of the call that brought the police to her yard. And all of them were trying to stay quiet now. The next day, Sarah visited the police station. She met with Detective Harris, an old friend. "Sarah, what's really going on there?" he asked. She showed him the video. The man behind the fence. The night was cold, but Sarah's hands were warm from holding the box. She locked her door, turned off all the lights, and sat at her kitchen table. The box was in front of her. The photographs still shook her heart. One by one, she laid them out. Some were old, black and white. Some were recent. Different women. Different places. But something connected them, and one face stared back at her like a ghost. Emily Cross. The missing girl. Her picture was marked with a red pen. Sarah whispered, "Why are you in this neighborhood, Emily?" She flipped the photo. Over a date, April 5th, 2023, just 6 days before Emily disappeared. And the location? Backyard, house 14. Sarah's hand trembled. House 14 was Mr. Thomas's house. The next morning, Sarah drove to the city police station. She met with Detective Harris again. "These photos, they're not just evidence," she said. "They're trophies." Harris looked at the pictures and nodded, slowly. "This is serious. We need a search warrant." Sarah frowned. "We can't wait. If they know I found this, they'll destroy everything." Harris leaned forward. "Then we go tonight, quietly." Back in the neighborhood, Sarah walked past house numbers 14. Mr. Thomas stood outside, watering his plants again. He smiled, fake and forced. "Lovely day," he said. Sarah nodded. "It is. Some secrets are hard to hide in the sunlight, though." His smile froze for a second, but he quickly looked away. Sarah's eyes didn't. She noticed dirt near the side of the house, freshly dug, covered again, but not perfectly. She took a picture on her phone and walked away. That evening, Sarah returned home. She locked her door and looked through the box again. There was one more thing inside. A USB drive. She plugged it into her laptop. A folder opened. Audio recordings. Sarah played the first one. A man's voice, cold, calm, and familiar. "She's too smart. We can't let her talk." Another voice replied, "Don't worry, I'll take care of her." Sarah froze. The second voice, it was, Mr. Thomas. She played another file. A girl's voice, crying. Please, I just want to go home. Sarah covered her mouth, her eyes filled with tears. It was Emily. She whispered, I won't let them get away with this. At midnight, Sarah met Detective Harris and 2 officers in an unmarked car near the neighborhood. No sirens, she said. We go in, fast and quiet. They walked toward house number 14. Mr. Thomas was asleep. The lights were off. They knocked. No answer. Go, Harris said. They opened the door and entered. Sarah led them to the back room, locked. Harris kicked it open. Inside were shelves, boxes, and more photos, files, clothes, personal items from at least 5 women. One officer whispered, It's a trophy room. Sarah walked slowly, looking at everything. Her heart felt heavy. But she didn't cry. She was here for justice. Then they heard it. A creak. Someone was in the house. They moved toward the sound. It came from the basement. The door was open, barely. Sarah led the way, step by step. They went down. The air was cold, musty, and then, in the darkness, they saw something, a small bed, a camera, and chains on the wall. One officer gasped, then Harris pointed. Look! On the floor, something shiny, a phone, still recording. Sarah picked it up and checked the gallery. Dozens of videos. They were all of Emily. Sarah's eyes filled again. She whispered, This is more than a case. This is evil. Then, crash, upstairs. Door slammed. Someone was running. Sarah and the officers raced back up, but it was too late. The front door was wide open. A car's engine roared in the distance. Mr. Thomas was gone. Gone. But not for long, because now they had everything they needed to find him. The night was thick with silence, but inside Sarah's chest, her heart was racing. Mr. Thomas was gone. The house was full of evidence, but the man who had hidden so many dark secrets had escaped. Detective Harris slammed the car door. We've put out an alert. Every highway and airport is being watched. Sarah didn't answer. Her eyes were fixed on the dark road ahead. He won't go far, she said softly. He's not just running from us, he's running from the truth. Back at her house, Sarah sat at her desk, staring at the files from the basement. Photos, videos, names, every one of them told a story of pain, but one folder caught her attention, Project E. She opened it. Inside were notes, handwritten. She's smart, too smart. Don't let her near the woods. She knows about the cabin. Sarah's eyes widened. A cabin? She checked the map of the neighborhood and the nearby area. There were woods behind the houses, an old trail that was no longer used. She zoomed in. There it was, a tiny mark, a structure, no address, no name. She whispered, That's where he's hiding. The next morning, Sarah didn't wait. She geared. Up, badge, gun, flashlight, and her phone. She didn't tell anyone. Not yet. This was personal now. The trail was quiet. Trees blocked the sun. Every step felt heavier. Birds flew away as she walked. Finally, she saw it. The cabin. Small. Hidden. Behind trees. Almost invisible. She walked closer. The door was slightly open. She pulled her gun. Mr. Thomas! She shouted. Come out! You're surrounded! No answer. She stepped inside. It was dark. The air smelled of old wood and something worse. Fear. She turned on her flashlight. The light fell on a table, and on the table was a bracelet. Small. Purple. With the name Emily carved into it. Sarah gasped. She was here. Then she heard it. A soft sound. From behind a wall. A hidden room. She touched the wall. Knocked gently. Hollow. She pushed. It opened. Inside, the Hidden room, a girl sat on the floor, thin, weak, eyes wide with fear. It was Emily, alive. Sarah dropped to her knees. "Emily? It's okay. You're safe now." The girl blinked. "Are you real?" Tears filled Sarah's eyes. "Yes, I promise. I'm with the FBI. You're going home." Emily reached out, shaking. Sarah hugged her tightly, but the moment was broken by a noise outside. Footsteps. Sarah stood up quickly, gun ready. A shadow passed the window. It was him, Mr. Thomas. He wasn't running anymore. He was coming back. For Emily. Sarah pulled Emily behind her. "Stay quiet, stay low." The door creaked open. Mr. Thomas stepped in. Dirty, angry, eyes wild. "You shouldn't have come here, Agent," he growled. Sarah didn't flinch. "It's over. The police are on their way. I found everything." He laughed. "They'll never understand why I did it." She stared at him. "Why then? Why the girls? Why Emily?" He took a step closer. "Because no one listened to me. I warned them. The world is full of liars. They needed to see what happens when the truth is ignored." "You hurt innocent people," she said, voice sharp. "You kidnapped a child." He looked at Emily. She was different. "I wasn't going to hurt her." Sarah raised her gun. "Then step back and don't move." But he didn't listen. He ran toward Emily. Bang! A single shot echoed in the cabin. Mr. Thomas fell to the floor. Still, Sarah stood over him, shaking. It was done. Minutes later, sirens echoed through the woods. Detective Harris arrived with officers. They found Sarah outside, holding Emily, wrapped in a blanket. "She's safe," Sarah said, eyes full of tears. "It's finally over." But Harris looked serious. "There's something you need to see." He handed her a new file. "Found in Mr. Thomas's car." Sarah opened it. Inside was a photo of herself, marked with red and written below, "She knows too much. If she talks, everything ends." Sarah's face went pale. "This wasn't just about him," she whispered. Harris nodded slowly. "We think he was part of something bigger." Sarah looked at the trees, at the cabin, at the broken world she had just uncovered. "This isn't over," she said. The cabin was now surrounded by police tape. But in Sarah's mind, the real case had just started. Emily was safe. Mr. Thomas was gone. But the file in her hands changed everything. Her picture. Her name. A target. That meant someone else had been watching her, studying her, and Mr. Thomas wasn't working alone. Back at FBI headquarters, Sarah sat in a quiet room, flipping through the file again. Every page was filled with names, numbers, and codes. One name kept showing up. Project Echelon. She typed it into the FBI database. No results. She tried again. Access denied. Even with her badge, the system blocked her. She leaned back, eyes narrowing. "Someone doesn't want this to be found." She went to Detective Harris. "Have you heard of Project Echelon?" she asked. He paused. That name came up once, 5 years ago. A whistleblower mentioned it. Said it was a secret network. What kind of network? High-level people. Government? Business? Law enforcement? A group that believed the system was broken, and they had the right to control it? Sarah frowned. "So they created their own rules?" Harris nodded. "They said they were saving the world." Sarah whispered. "By kidnapping girls?" He looked away. "By removing anyone who got too close." Sarah knew one thing for sure. Mr. Thomas was just a pawn, a small piece in a much bigger game. And now, the people behind the game knew she was close. That night, Sarah checked the photos from Mr. Thomas's basement again. One picture caught her eye. It was blurry. In the background, behind one of the girls, there was a man wearing a black coat. Face half hidden. She zoomed in, and froze. She knew that face. Chief Raymond, the head of local police. Her eyes widened. He's part of this. She remembered how he reacted when she showed her badge the first day. Shocked, nervous. Now it made sense. The next morning, she visited the station. Chief Raymond greeted her with a smile. "Agent Sarah," he said. "Everything under control now?" She smiled back. "Almost. Just tying up loose ends." But inside, she was watching his every move. She noticed a small pin on his jacket, a symbol. She'd seen it once before, in the Project Echelon file, a circle with 3 lines inside, like a spider web. Her heart beat faster. He was part of it. But she had no proof. Not yet. That evening, Sarah received a call from an unknown number. She answered. A woman's voice whispered, "If you want the truth, come to..." The city was still asleep when Sarah reached her apartment. Her hands were shaking. Her clothes were dirty, and in her bag was the hard drive Mia gave her. Mia, the woman who died just minutes ago, trying to help. Sarah closed her eyes. "I won't. Let your death be for nothing," she whispered. She placed the hard drive on the table, plugged it into her laptop. The screen flashed. Project Echelon, Level 7 access required. Password protected. Of course, she typed. MIA 2025 access granted. Sarah stared in shock. Hundreds of files opened. Videos, recordings, financial documents, names and pictures, high-ranking officials, police chiefs, doctors, lawyers, and, her eyes stopped, Chief Raymond, clear as day, in a room, standing beside Mr. Thomas. Smiling, behind them, a whiteboard with dozens of names. One of them, Emily Cross, another one, Sarah Blake, her name, her picture, her address. Sarah couldn't breathe. They had planned it all. She copied everything to a secure cloud folder and sent it to the FBI's Internal Affairs Unit. Then she made a decision. Go public. She opened her camera. Hit record. "My name is Agent Sarah Blake. I work for the FBI, and what I'm about to show you is dangerous." She took a deep breath. For years, a group called Project Echelon has been targeting innocent people. They believe they are above the law. They kidnap children, silence truth-tellers, and tried to kill me to hide it. She uploaded the video, title, "The Truth About Project Echelon," from FBI agent Sarah Blake. Then she waited. It didn't take long. Within an hour, the video was trending worldwide. Comments poured in, anger, shock, support. Then the news channels picked it up. Breaking, FBI agent exposes secret criminal network, but not everyone was happy. Sarah's phone rang, a voice she knew too well. "Chief Raymond, you just made a big mistake, Agent," he said coldly. "No," she replied, "you did, and now everyone knows." He laughed. "You think people will believe a woman who sunbathes in her backyard? You think they'll protect you?" She didn't flinch. "I don't need protection," she said. "I need justice." Then she hung up. That night, something unexpected happened. The doorbell rang. Sarah looked through the peephole. Detective Harris. He held up a file. "We got him," he said. "Raymond and 2 others. They were trying to leave the country." Sarah smiled. Finally. Over the next week, more arrests followed. Project Echelon began to crumble. One by one, the pieces fell. Mia's hard drive became the key to everything. Sarah testified before a federal court. Her words were strong, honest, brave, and the world listened. But justice has a cost. Sarah was offered a promotion. She turned it down. Instead, she started something new, a task force, to protect people like Emily, to make sure this never happens again. She called it Project Light. One sunny morning, she walked through a quiet park. On a bench sat Emily, now stronger, smiling. Sarah sat beside. Emily said, "Is it really over?" Sarah looked at the sky. "No," she said. "But now? The truth is stronger than their lies." They both sat in silence, not afraid, but free.